Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure and an honor. I love the word CryptoEconomics because it combines some of my favorite words together, and I'd like to try to expand upon that definition. And let's start with that. So, crypto means to hide. It's a Greek root. But I feel like between CryptoEconomics, there's another word that's missing, which stands for the transparency. So maybe CryptoEconomics should be crypto-phaneroeconomics. There's this duality between hiding something and sharing something, and what blockchain does and what Bitcoin has done. It's shown us a way to coordinate ourselves in a new way by using cryptography to share information and not share information in ways that were not possible before, thereby creating a new kind of ecosystem. So when I think of CryptoEconomics, what's close to me is the combination of computer science algorithms and processes with economics and game theory. So, for example, in computer science, we used to know about fault tolerance, like the Raft protocol and other consensus algorithms that are good for dealing with crash faults. And then BFT, of course, Byzantine fault-tolerant algorithms are another computer science thing that came out ever since the 60s, 70s. And it's about not just machines that can crash, but actors that can try to sabotage your system because it's perhaps an open network like Bitcoin is. But what proof of stake does, this is where CryptoEconomics comes in. It introduces the element of incentives, economic incentives, in order to restrict not just what you want to reveal, for example, whether somebody signed something or whether something is encrypted or not, but CryptoEconomics, by bringing in incentives, also restricts what the actors do. For example, by punishing somebody for signing something that they should not have signed. Right? So this is CryptoEconomics. Ethan Buckman, my co-founder, he says that, he summarizes it as, crypto reduces the possible interpretations of messages, whereas economics does something similar with behavior. All right. So in this room, we have computer science people and economics people. So I want to say something to the computer science people and something to the economics people. We need good layers, good protocols, and primitives because the space is blossoming. There's a lot of competing projects and protocols out there. There's no shortage of funding. And the problem is a lot of people are reproducing the same solutions. They're trying to solve the same problem over and over again. And that's because we don't yet have good layers and good interfaces. And that's what we tried to solve with Tendermint, the consensus engine. By introducing a layer between the consensus engine and the state machine, the application, we call that ABCI, it allows people to share the same component, Tendermint, while focusing on their specific use case in the application. And this brings, it makes you develop your system faster, it makes you go to launch faster, and it also helps us pool security, right? So I feel like the groups that embrace modularity and good interfaces will win together as a whole, whereas everyone trying to recreate the whole stack are probably going to lose out on speed. To the economists, I'd like to say that we should start from scratch. Monetarism is the paradigm we live in where there's a fiat currency where a central bank changes the interest rate in order to preserve the purchasing power of the dollar or whatever fiat currency you have. And it's a tremendous asset to nation states because they can inflate the currency and use that to do whatever they need to. But this is a recent phenomenon, right? Like, every few decades, we end up in a new system, and the system ends up being compromised, and we end up creating a new one over and over again. And I'd like to say that monetarism is probably going to go away soon. It'll be replaced with a more complex system where, the definition of money is going to change. the unit of account is going to separate from the underlying token. The boundaries between money, group membership, reputation, equity, all of these things are going to start getting blurred because we are creating a platform for new experimentation. So just to give you an example, this is a problem that we're going to start facing. You might have noticed that Ethereum and Bitcoin hard forked into different chains. Now, so far that's been done with the intent of capturing, winning the hard fork war. But what we've seen is that every time a hard fork happens, the distribution just splits and we end up with two chains. What's to stop people from doing this for future blockchains in order to create new blockchain systems, right? Forking the distribution of a blockchain is really just giving membership to a group of people that you think will enjoy your product, right? So if many people fork blockchain distributions, and why wouldn't they? Because it's all transparent, it's all public. How do we deal with the explosion of tokens, right? So I'm going to list some open problems that I always think about, right? There's a lot of open problems in the cryptocurrency space. Vitalik has a fantastic list, but these are the ones I'll talk about. Proof of stake. So we just talked about this, but I want to talk about the separation of the staking token a bit. We are still yet not convinced as a group, as a community, that proof of stake is a viable alternative to proof of work. I'm not going to try to convince people who are convinced that proof of stake doesn't work, that proof of stake does work, because it's a waste of time. But I'll go into that later. But even within the proof of stake world, we haven't explored all the possibilities. So far, we are still the only people who are talking about separating the staking token from the currency token, right? And the separation solves a lot of problems that people were pointing out about the costs of capital lockup in a staking scenario. So when you have a unified token like the Ether, and you want to post your Ether at stake, put them in a bond in order to be a validator in a proof of stake system, there is capital lockup cost for you because you could have used that ETH for other things. You could have lent it out, to earn some interest or something like that. But when you create a new token, you're creating a new asset class, right? So in another way, when you think about the staking ecosystem, there really is no capital lockup cost. We're creating a new asset from scratch. So people aren't talking about that. Here's a huge problem, scaling and interoperability. And I kind of group these into the same bucket because when you have an interoperability system where multiple blockchains can work with each other, then you naturally have a scaling solution, right? Bitcoin has the Lightning Network. And with Ethereum last year, we've been talking about 2017, 2016, payment channels and state channels. But with Cosmos IBC, now we're talking about blockchains talking to each other. It's basically like a state channel, a multi-party state channel where the smart contract represents another blockchain. And then there's Polkadot and Plasma coming up with different ways of blockchain communication and coordination. So these are very exciting times, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more solutions as well. Token proliferation, just mentioned that previously. Here's a suggested solution to the problem. Oh, let me mention one problem of token proliferation. So exchanges like Bitfinex that provide short trading, like margin trading and short trading, have an issue with blockchains forking, like Bitcoin forking into Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, because you can borrow Bitcoins before the fork, and then after the fork, what do you need to pay off? Do you need to pay off just the Bitcoins, or do you also need to pay back the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin Cash? We don't yet have a system to deal with this, so exchanges are going to have a hard time with short positions, which means everyone's going to try to figure out how to solve this problem in general so that we can actually have good exchanges, right? So I propose, here's a random proposal. Let's just create a token that represents some arithmetic combination of tokens and have an interoperable infrastructure that allows you to swap from one of these derived tokens into any other token. Here's a huge problem that I think we haven't solved yet. I don't know of any solutions for this problem, but basically I feel like there's a giant problem of a general reputation / prediction machine. We have Gnosis and Augur and prediction markets, but I feel like there's something that we are still missing, something that allows you to put primary data on the public chain and then have off-chain computation based on your initial seed data of who you initially trust. So an offline system for giving you recommendations and predictions. And I feel like this would solve, it would solve a lot of problems that we're seeing today. So where is our PageRank? Who's working on that? And of course, ultimately what we're trying to do with CryptoEconomics is we're trying to solve large human problems, right? Not only am I talking about environmental problems with like carbon, carbon credits and making sure that we don't, we have a sustainable future, but it's also about politics as well. So just yesterday, there was an issue of sovereignty, right? So it's such a human Earth problem to have this issue where we have a restricted amount of two-dimensional land and we have to figure out our boundaries, right? What Bitcoin did was it bootstrapped an economic system from scratch, and somehow it was able to thrive. It was like as if there was some kind of vacuum, and this new BFT ledger was like self-incentivizing. I feel like we are missing a governance system that allows people to feel like, yeah, you know what? We have a conflict where we want to have our own sovereign jurisdiction. What is a system that people, say in the Bay Area, who are living here and who have a conflict of housing, can come together and say, I like this governance system. I feel like if I engage with this system, my voice will be heard. Because a lot of people don't feel that way today in local governance. And what we can do is create programmatic cryptoeconomic solutions that create new experiments that allow people in municipalities to come together and create something together. So with that, Cosmos, which is the project that we've been working on, is about making blockchains interoperate. It's a short announcement that we're creating a working group. If you're interested in inter-blockchain communication protocols, scaling protocols, please contact us and we'll create a working group where we can share ideas for protocols and specifications. Yeah. All right, so I want to leave just a few 2 cents. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we as a community are the ones that are going to define the future, new ecosystem, the new economy. And we can either work together in a collaborative way so that we can all succeed, or we can fight among ourselves and drown in the noise of, whatever. So I'd like for us to all succeed, and so I want to share some tips that I've learned. Don't spend your time convincing people who are already religious. It's a waste of time. Make sure, triple check everything you know, triple check your premises whenever somebody criticizes you, but go out to other people who are interested in your idea. Create modular systems that work together. This is how we will innovate faster, right? It's the Unix philosophy. It's what Tendermint is about, ABCI is about, it's what smart contracts are about. It's about creating layers that work together. In the future, we'll see the same kind of layering system, with storage systems, new Merkle-proof systems, and interoperability systems and blockchain SDKs. there's not a whole lot of things left to believe in. The environment is going to shit. People don't believe in the government. Science conflicts with religion, right? I feel like the only thing left, besides crazy transhumanism, is creating tools for us to coordinate and create community. So we have the responsibility because we're the only ones who have hope left, I feel. Right? So with that, I'm looking forward to this conference. Thank you very much.